So this channel has achieved some pretty significant milestones lately, we had 50,000 last month, I think right now around 65,000. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a Q&A session to answer your questions and see whatever you want to know about me, about style, my thoughts on different topics that aren't the usual thing that I would cover in a video. Before we get into that, I just want to say a few words about the Gent Z event that we had earlier this week. I was absolutely blown away by the reception, the turnout, the guys that came. I'm sure some of you are watching. It was just an absolutely fantastic night because we had, I think, about 15 people, like-minded, gentlemanly guys who probably would have never met each other in any other way, and we were able to bring each other together, have a great night. Many old fashions were drunk. We spent a lot of time talking about not just style, but also cars, watches, dating, Chicago, different places that people have lived, and it was just a fantastic get-together. So I really have to extend my gratitude to everybody who came, and to those guys who weren't able to make it, or you weren't sure whether it was going to be your cup of tea. I guarantee that you would absolutely have a wonderful time meeting these guys, and I'm really excited to see where we can take this. You know, right now it's in Chicago. I'm going to be traveling a little bit later this year, and I'm thinking about doing some of these events in different cities. I know a lot of you guys are in London. I am going to be going to London in September, so perhaps we'll do a meetup there. I would love to do one in Miami over the summer too. So it looks like the Gent Z community is very much an in-person thing as well as an online thing too, which is fantastic for me because I'm a very analog person. You know, even though I do YouTube, I'm not really as much of a social media kind of guy. I like real life connections. So to have a real life social group of like-minded guys, it's just an honor for me to be able to create that. But obviously it wouldn't have happened if you guys didn't turn up and make the evening such a success. So I have to say a huge thank you before we move on with the questions. So cheers to you guys. So I'm going to start with the first question. And a couple of these questions are questions that I've blended together because we had a few people ask very similar questions. So I tried to put them as a theme, and then I'll give you my thoughts on this topic. So the first question is, what are some inexpensive, used, gentlemanly cars? Jaguar XK is a good one, but any others you like. The first brands that come to my mind are Jaguar, Mercedes, or Alfa Romeo. Well, I think the reason this guy mentioned the Jaguar XK is because my first car was a Jaguar XK8. It's an absolutely beautiful looking car, but it's a beautiful nightmare. Honestly, the brands that you mentioned, Jaguar, Mercedes, Alfa Romeo, on the used market, once you get past 10 or so years old, they're not great in terms of reliability. If you're a car guy and you're a hobbyist and you want to spend your weekends tweaking and fixing things, that's great. But if you're looking for something that's a reliable daily driver, I wouldn't go for any of those really. You know, Alfa Romeo might be even more unreliable than Jaguar actually. And a lot of the Mercedes, you can get a good price on them 10 years after they 10 years old Mercedes. But the reason why is because the first owner has had them and then they've dumped them as soon as they start showing signs of problems. So, you know, none of them are really great brands for buying used and affordable because they have an affordable sticker as a used car, but the thing is you'll pay so much more than that on maintenance and repairs. I think forgetting brands just for a moment, a sedan is always the most stylish option, or a two-seater sports car. You know, in terms of affordable new sports cars, you could get something like a Mazda MX-5 or the Fiat Spider. They're both under $30,000, I think. Really cool looking cars, pretty fun to drive as well. If you want to go for a sedan, the color black is always a bit more stylish. But if you're a young man, I wouldn't worry so much about the brand of the car or even particularly the style of the car. The most important thing is that you just look after it. Clean it, wash it, take some pride in your vehicle and appearance. And honestly, a woman, for example, doesn't care if you have a BMW if it's filthy and there's McDonald's wrapper in the footwell. She'd rather get into a Toyota Camry that's been washed and smells nice and is clean inside. So, you know, if you want something that's a typical gentlemanly car that's more affordable, you could look at a used C-Class Mercedes or a BMW 3 Series, or more reliable would be the Lexus ES. But don't get too hung up on it if you're not really a car guy. The most important thing is that you just look after what you've got. Next question. What vehicle does a gentleman never drive? Well, I think what makes a car ungentlemanly isn't necessarily the type of vehicle. As I said, I think there are certain things that you can do to the car that make it ungentlemanly. Bumper stickers, for example, removing the muffler, anything that's too loud and obnoxious. And it can be loud and obnoxious with the color, the sound of the engine, or playing very loud music with the windows wound down. You know, personally, I dislike SUVs a lot, even though it's a very popular choice. I just think they're very bulky and not very beautiful to look at, but that doesn't mean that it's not a gentlemanly car. It really depends on your needs. If you're a guy with a family of 3 or 4 children, then that's going to be the most appropriate car for you. It would, in fact, be ungentlemanly to try and cram your family in the back of a Porsche 911, although that is kind of what I want to do when I have kids. But if it's just you and your girlfriend, you know, a 2-seater convertible is perfect. But I also understand that people need a more practical car sometimes. Next question. What do you suggest for teens who can't get the clothes tailored since they're still growing? This is a very good question. This is something I have a lot of experience with because I did a bit of a body transformation where my weight went up from 140 to 220 in about 8 months. So I had to get rid of my entire wardrobe and start again. And then I've kind of been going up and down ever since. So for somebody who's still growing or is in this process of doing a bit of a body transformation, I would say don't get custom clothes, but do use a tailor. Tell them to leave the fabric in. For example, if you're getting darts put in a shirt, you can tell them to leave the fabric in so you can always let it out afterwards. And I would buy affordable or even secondhand clothes as well. If you're a teenager, you can go and just get a shirt from H&M for $20, spend an extra $10 or $15 getting it tailored, and that's probably going to give you more use out of it than going and spending $200 on a custom fitted shirt that doesn't fit you again in 3 months. The next question is, should a gentleman fight? Well, it depends if we're talking about fighting in the street or we're fighting as training, like a martial art or boxing. I understand for some people there might be times in life where physical confrontation is necessary, but it has to be a last resort, only when it's completely unavoidable. The times we live in now, there are big legal consequences, even to throwing a punch, so you really got to think carefully about stuff like this. And it's good to have the ability to defend yourself. I completely agree with that. But I think training, boxing or martial arts, there are many benefits beyond just the ability to knock somebody out. You know, I mean, I do boxing training myself. I enjoy the discipline of it. I enjoy learning the skill. Obviously, it's a fantastic workout. So do I think a gentleman should fight? I think if a martial art or some kind of fighting training interests him, then I think he should absolutely learn that discipline. But a gentleman absolutely does not go out looking for fights. Somebody said, attitude and discussion towards jewelry. Wedding bands, signet ring and watch are very common and accepted, but what about other types of bracelets, chains, earrings, as well as other things like cufflinks, tie-pin, etc.? Well, I think jewelry and accessories are totally up to you. It's an opportunity to express your style. Personally, I don't wear much non-traditional jewelry. I don't wear bracelets. I don't wear necklaces. I don't wear any rings. Although I do have an interest and I enjoy the appeal of a signet ring, I personally don't wear one. I think with certain accessories, the more old school accessories, you can kind of go a little bit too flashy if you're wearing the cufflinks, the tie pin. It can be a bit Gordon Gekko, which is cool. It's a certain type of look that I don't go for. I think you just have to be aware of the look that it's creating if you want to wear those accessories. But personally, I don't, but I really think that's one of those things that has to be up to you, and that's part of your individual style. What gentleman tips can Americans learn from Brits and vice versa? This is a great question. As a British person in America, I actually think about this quite a lot. I think Brits could learn from Americans to be a bit more warm and outgoing and friendly and accepting of new people. I definitely find that Americans are much more welcoming, especially to an outsider, whereas Vice versa, for example, an American going to London for the first time, I don't find the people there quite as welcoming. On the other hand, I think that Americans could learn a little decorum and modesty from British people. Obviously, this doesn't apply to all Americans, but definitely some lack a bit of tact from time to time. So I think both Americans and British people could learn things from each other, and I'm a big fan of both cultures. Have you considered moving back to Europe, and if so, which country and what potential do you see in that country? At the moment, I have not. Maybe in the future when I have children, I would consider it. I do have some hesitancies about raising children in America. It really depends on who my wife is and where she's from. Obviously, I only know about half of the equation right now. I prefer countries in the south and west of Europe, like Spain and Italy. I enjoy the culture, I enjoy the climate there. So that does have its appeals to me. But I think it's something that I would consider maybe a few years down the line. For this stage of my life, I really enjoy being in America, and I haven't regretted living here once. So I think at least for the next few years, America it is. What Premier League team do you support? I get this question a lot, actually, and the truth of the matter is I don't really follow sports. I don't really have a team. I enjoy watching sports, but I just don't make it a priority, and it is a big investment to follow a team and keep up and watch all the games. So right now, between working and having this channel and a social life, I just don't really make the time for sports. When I was younger, I used to go and watch Arsenal, so I suppose that was my team in the Premier League. But right now, I can't really call myself a football fan. Can you create a Discord? Yes, absolutely. This is something that's very much on my to-do list. I'm still learning a lot about Discord and trying to think about how I can make this a valuable community. You know, some Discords can descend into what's known as shitposting, and I don't want it to be that. I want it to be something that people join, they find a lot of value out of, and they really enjoy being part of that. So maybe you guys could tell me what you would want to see in that community and what I could do to make it worthwhile being part of. Should a gentleman listen to secular or gangster hip-hop music? Well, I think that you can listen to any kind of music that you like. To avoid listening to any kind of music because it's not gentlemanly would be a little bit ridiculous. If you like the music, then there's no reason to stop yourself from enjoying it. I would say, though, if you're trying to cultivate an image of sophistication and gentlemanliness, be aware of who you listen to this music around. For example, I wouldn't say that it's gentlemanly to blast gangster rap music with the windows down when driving, but if you want to listen to that at home or in the gym, in your earphones, I think that's totally fine. Why are hats not being worn in menswear right now? Well, hats are being worn in menswear, but they're the baseball caps and the what do they call it? Bucket hats. They are the trendy hats right now. You know, a traditional style like a fedora and a trilby, I don't really see that as part of classic style. They were just a trend of their time. These hats haven't been stylish since the 1960s. So, you know, just because something was popular in the 40s and 50s, it doesn't necessarily mean it was classic or timeless. Personally, I don't lament the loss of the hat. I don't own a hat. I don't like the way they look. So as for why they're not being worn in menswear right now, I think you could have asked this question for 50 years and maybe the hat is just kind of dead, to be honest. What product for hair do you recommend? Right now, I'm using the American Crew Styling Cream. I've experimented with a lot of different products over the years, some pomades, both oil-based and wax-based, but I really like this American Crew one right now. It depends what kind of hair you have. If you have similar hair to me and you want this kind of hairstyle, that might work well for you. But if you want something different, then you're going to need a different product. Previously, I used Suavecito pomade for a more old school look. I did like that one a lot. If you're looking for that kind of aesthetic, I would really recommend that product. And then for the guys who go for a bit more of a upright hairdo, or you want to add some thickness to your hair, I would always recommend a sea salt spray. But I don't have any particular brand loyalty when it comes to a sea salt spray. They're pretty much all the same. Can you do a video ranking viewers' outfits? Yes, I would love to, actually. That would be a really fun idea. We had some fun doing a look at the subscribers' homes and rating them together. I still have a bunch of submissions. I'm not sure if I'm going to make another one of those. Maybe. I know you guys want me to, but I feel like I might have overdone it a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see. If you want your outfit considered for this video, then please do send it in an email, gent.z.style@gmail.com. I'll put that in the description too. So yeah, if you're interested in getting your outfit rated, then send it over. Quick idea for a video. Concert season is coming up soon. What are your recommendations on how to dress and behave as a gentleman when attending a concert, depending on the music genre? I'm actually just filmed this video, so that was a good idea. I don't go to many concerts now, but I used to go to a lot, and I have a lot of thoughts actually about this, not just how to behave, but also what to wear and topics like dancing and moshing. So that video is actually going to be coming out later this week. How should a gentleman navigate the use of social media? I would say sparingly and professionally. And I say this as somebody who is now a YouTuber. I'm actually not a big fan of social media. I think you can use it to your advantage if you use it intentionally. Maybe you use LinkedIn to advance your career, or you use Facebook to keep in touch with family members. But there's a lot of risks that come with social media. And it creates the opportunity not only to cause big problems in your personal and career if something ends up online that you don't want to be online, but also it's another way for people to start drama with you and continue arguments, especially amongst certain types of people who like to bicker and have social media beef. I don't think that's the kind of thing a gentleman gets into. So I would very much limit your use of social media. Use it in a way that serves you. Use it in a way that's intentional. And then remember to keep a good degree of privacy. Even myself, I try and keep my private life pretty private. I consider myself quite open on social media with you guys, but I'm not posting about my whereabouts 24/7. And I'm honestly not really interested in what other people are doing on social media either. Okay, this is the final question now. It says, at what point in your life did you wake up and decide to become a gentleman? I had a few questions like this, so that's why I decided to save this one till last. So I didn't wake up one day and decide to become a gentleman. It was very much a gradual transition. It started with clothes. I remember being about 16 or 17 and wearing a suit for the first time. It was a terrible suit. It was like a top man. I think I was a size 34, jacket 34, black suit, polyester. But something about it, I just felt pretty good in it. So, I started with that. And when I went to college, I would wear blazers. And I was always dressing up just a little notch above other people. And I also noticed a lack of chivalry in the modern world. Just in the way that men conducted themselves with women, stories I heard about dating from a woman's perspective. I think I always liked old movies, and I kind of romanticized the way that men like Cary Grant would act, the way they carried themselves, their demeanor. So that was a big inspiration to me as well. But it wasn't really a deliberate research of how do I become a gentleman. It was very subconscious and gradual over time. Now that I have this channel, obviously I think about it a lot more. And I'm always expanding the scope of this channel and trying to discover new things about what it means to be a gentleman, creating a gentlemanly lifestyle. So I'm actually learning and growing as I make the content for you guys. I think what came back to me actually a little bit as well over time was, so I went to a private school and there's a lot of etiquette involved in that I didn't really appreciate at the time. But as an adult, it kind of came back to me and it made more sense. So for example, whenever a teacher walked into the room, we would all stand up, which is similar to standing up when a lady walks into a room. We had to write with fountain pens, for example. So there was some things, and also they taught us how to speak. How to communicate was a very important lesson that I don't think you get in a lot of schools. So it was a combination of all these different things and old ideas that resurfaced and just different things mixing around in my subconscious that kind of created the man that I am today. But I'm by no means a finished product, and I hope I don't present myself as such on this channel. I'm very much on this journey with you, but I like to share what I learn, and really for me it's actually about creating a community of gentlemen and a generation of gentlemen. That's why I have the name Gent Z. It's a play on Gen Z. That's my grand ambition, would be for Gen Z to be the most gentlemanly generation that's ever lived. So I see myself as part of that journey. And, you know, in the US as well, I found that it's a little bit more easy to be polite. I think manners is more well received and appreciated over here. So when I moved to the US, I definitely felt more at home in being a gentleman, and I felt like it was more valued. So all of those things, you know, from age 12 up to 26 now, have contributed to that journey. Well, that was the final question. So I thank you very much for watching. Just want to take another moment to thank you all for coming to the event last week. I'm excited to do the next one. I think we're going to do it in about a month. So if you weren't able to make it, please do register for the next one using the link in the description, and you'll get the event information there. I think you're going to have a great time meeting some like-minded men. And to all of you around the world, thank you so much for making this channel what it is. Thank you for making it a genuine community of men of all ages leveling up and becoming gentlemen. So I don't have the words, unfortunately, to express my level of gratitude, but I hope that I just express it by keeping making these videos of a high quality and helping you guys with whatever you want to know. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.